Microsoft and Sony don't want you to play your games at 60 FPS, and the guys behind Hatred are a bunch of neo-Nazi Muslim-hating gun nuts. All of this and more today on DEBRIEF. Hey you! Would you like to enjoy your PC games at a smooth 60 frames per second? You do? Great! Or is it? Microsoft and Sony want to cap their PC ports at 30 FPS, all according to a Ubisoft employee that went and did a speech at a college and revealed some juicy details surrounding their relationship with Microsoft and Sony. When someone asked about Watch Dogs, a Ubisoft online programmer explained that just before release, they ship the copy of the game to the console manufacturers and then they decide what stays and goes in the game. Now this is where things get really interesting. When asked about the frame rates, 30 versus 60, since it was a big deal in both Microsoft and Sony's marketing campaign, the Ubisoft employee replied with, "We always aim for 60, but often we have to settle for 30 due to hardware limitations," which is fairly understandable. But then he added that console makers pressure them into doing the same with the PC versions of the game. Now in this video, I'm not going to focus on the whole 30 versus 60 FPS debate, but instead, let's talk about the fact that these console makers, these console manufacturers, the good people over at Sony and Microsoft, pressure their developers to lock their frame rates and deliberately downgrade the graphics significantly to make the console and PC version almost look and feel identical. Now of course, remember kids, none of this has officially been acknowledged by either Microsoft or Sony, but in all honesty, it all makes a lot of sense. Let's go back a bit to the release of The Evil Within, a game that runs at a sub-HD resolution on the Xbox One. By the way, just a random fact of the day and another reason to make fun of the Xbox One. What? Anyways, The Evil Within was and still is capped at 30 frames per second. Now this was all announced shortly before the game's release, and shortly after that statement, a post on the Bethesda forums popped up from the very same dev team that made the game, apologizing and explaining how you were able to unlock the frame rate in the console. Well, this scenario ties in perfectly with what our pal at Ubisoft said during that presentation. The developers were most likely pressured to cap the game at 30 FPS along with other graphical changes like the horrible cropping or the field of view. And this is just one of the most recent cases, folks. There have been many more similar cases around there indicating that console makers are limiting and deliberately crippling console ports on the PC. Now this might be a bit hard to relate to as a console player as it doesn't immediately affect you. But this sort of practice is extremely unprofessional and quite shameful, and should in no way be accepted by the gaming community. Why? Well, for many reasons. For one, them taking us gamers for idiots, to put it bluntly, and reason number two, all the money that PC players put into their machines and having to find out that some of these AAA titles just won't run the way they're supposed to. And this applies to the Xbox One and PS4 as well, by the way, folks, where they intentionally lower the graphical fidelity of a game on the more powerful system, usually the PS4, so its performance would scale and be almost identical to the Xbox One. This sort of practice is wrong on so many levels for so many reasons, and any gamer should be able to recognize that, no matter what system you play on. And in the end, we're all consumers, we're all gamers, and we most certainly don't deserve to be cheated and lied to, as we so often are. So what can we do about it, you ask? Well, to be honest, there's not a lot we can do because this sort of news doesn't necessarily reach the broad audiences. It always stays in this very underground and tight internet community of gamers. The truth is, this kind of story, or this story in particular, never truly reaches the public or the casual gamers, those who don't necessarily watch YouTube videos and don't bother visiting gaming related websites. You see, the problem here is that most of the casual gaming crowd just isn't aware. They aren't educated on the matter, and the gaming industry, along with all your developers and your console manufacturers, they like to take advantage of that. So the point that I'm trying to make here is make people aware if you care as much as I do. Spread the word around, maybe share this video or do whatever you feel is necessary to make other gamers aware of this issue. And once we'll see the more casual crowd being active about the issue and actively responding to the nonsense the gaming industry is constantly pulling off, that, people, is when we will start seeing a change. But until the general gaming public isn't aware of the issue will continue to occur and will most likely happen more often. Well, that was a bit serious, wasn't it? Let's light up the mood with our next story. Neo-Nazi anti-Islamic developers behind the controversial game Hatred won't back down because, you know, they're neo-Nazi anti-Islamic people who want to make you shoot up your school. Or are they? Not according to the studio CEO, they're not. He responded to the accusations by saying they are, and I quote, "fucking ridiculous." Pfft. Sounds pretty neo-Nazi to me. Anyways, if you haven't heard about the game Hatred just yet, you have been a good boy for taking a break from the internet, and I shall reward you by telling you all about the game as an angry neo-Nazi. Hatred is ein top-down shooter where you have to kill civilians and perform all sorts of different cool but also very brutal-looking executions on them. The main character also looks like he's a very disturbed person who wants to take revenge on society with his AK-47 and die in a shower of bullets. Heil Hatred! Right, so, what the hell is this game all about? Does it in fact promote violence and mass murder? Well, that's up for debate, to be honest, and one that I will not participate in because I let you do that over in the comments section. What I will say is that this game looks very distasteful, especially when you see the trailer and actually hear what the guy has to say. But then again, it's quite clear that this trailer was very much intended to create controversy to help boost its popularity, which is obviously doing its job because I'm here talking about the game. Goddamn Nazis and their hidden Nazi agendas. Damn. You know what I feel like right now? I feel like doing some goddamn Quick News, that's what I feel like. Paranautical Activity. You guys know the game? Ha! Me neither. Its developer flipped his bazongas when he saw that the game hit Steam and was classed under the Early Access category when it was in fact a finished game. Then, our dear developer proceeded to mess with the almighty Gaben himself and threatened his life. And then they pull his game off of Steam. Hey, remember that one lawsuit EA got tangled into? You know, the one where investors were like, you lied about the state of the game to inflate share price and all that stuff, and yeah, that one. Well, it seems that they got off the hook because the judge ended up saying the whole issue was just a matter of corporate optimism. Now, in other news, if you would like to check out an amazing game that will blow the nips off your tits, check out Quantum Break. They show off all sorts of fancy gameplay showcasing the game's mechanics. Looks really promising, but here's the catch, you see, and it includes the words exclusive and Xbox One. So feel free to donate an Xbox One to the Debrief offices. We don't have a PO box just yet, but I'll leave my personal PayPal details somewhere in this video. Jetpacks. Call of Duty on the robots of the future. Listen up, folks, Armor 3 is free this weekend on Steam, and they're holding another sale where the game is minus 50%. I highly recommend you kids get yourself a copy ASA to the P. Woo! Well, that was it for today's episode of Debrief, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, of course, don't forget to like the video and share the video, peeps. Tell the whole freaking world about Debrief. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Dolce for Debrief, and I'll see you in the next one.